primarily SOx, NOx, and your CO2 you can say, or GHGs basically. Okay, so here we go. SOx, NOx, and let's say we talk about CO2. So these are the remaining ones. What are SOx, guys? Oxides of sulfur. Example, SO2, SO3. What are NOx? Oxide of nitrogen. Example are N2O, nitrous oxide, NO nitric oxide, NO2 nitrogen dioxide, and some traces of N2O3 and N2O5, of which these are the dominant ones, the first three. So I can just simply delete the next of those. Okay. In this case, NO2, this is also called laughing gas, and normally not produced much by engines. Normally it is produced by other sources, let's say cattle farming and all. So I can exclude that also from list, and it is primarily used for as an anesthetic, anesthesia and all, this nitrous oxide. So let me exclude that from the list again. So we are left with two of those. The one is NO nitric oxide and NO2. So we will be focusing our discussion on these two only. And CO2, you know what that CO2 is. Generation. Why? What factors helps in the generation? So SOx is formed when sulfur reacts with oxygen in the combustion chamber, and SOx is formed. Similarly, NOx, how does NOx form? When nitrogen is reacting with air, means oxygen, then NOx is formed. And finally, CO2, when carbon reacts with oxygen in the combustion chamber, then CO2 is formed. Okay. Now we need to see what are the problems associated with them. So problems associated with SOx. Can you write down what are the problems due to SOx? Why do you want to control SOx? What is the problem? Let it be, isn't it? If there must be some harmful effect. That is why we are limiting it. Of course, there's the pollution, like what kind actually we need to see. Yes, that's right. Guys, this SOx reacts with water in the atmosphere and it forms acid. That is your sulfuric acid. and sulfurous acid. Now these acids, when reacting with rainwater, they'll form acid rain. So you're right. But what is the problem with acid rain? It changes the pH of the water in soil. It changes pH value. It reduces pH actually of water. Water may be, let's say, ponds, lakes, rivers, and soil. And this change in the pH value will kill the organisms. Some of the organisms, see, very delicate balance is there in the nature. So many of the organisms are living in very delicate balance of the pH value. And if you changes the pH value, they will die simply. But that does not mean the other organisms which can sustain the change in pH will not die. They will also die because of interdependence. If one organism die, other organisms are also affected. Maybe it's their food. And when the food is not available, then of course they'll also die. So everything is interlinked here. So if the pH changes, it's not good for the ecology. And that is why acid rain is not good, and that is why SOx is not good. They can also impact the, you can say, buildings, especially if they are made of marbles like Taj Mahal and all, made of calcium carbonate. So basically these kind of rain, they damages the structures also. Though that's not very important point, but the ecology is important. So that's why we need to limit SOx production. So the problems associated with SOx we understood. Yes, next, tell me the problems associated with NOx. Yes, guys, problems with NOx. Very good. Yeah, that's right. See, first of all, same problem is applicable here. What is the problem? See, NOx upon reaction with water vapor is also producing acid, nitric acid. So these acid can again cause acid rain, SOx. Additionally to that, there's one more problem that is associated with the NOx, is that it helps in the formation of ozone. Problem with the formation of ozone is that it's not good for health if it is produced near to the area where we live, basically near to the Earth's surface. So if you talk about the oxides, gentlemen, we talked about two oxides, NO and NO2. Which of them is dangerous? NO2 is dangerous, but NO is converting to NO2 automatically. So this is an automatic reaction. So ultimately NO becomes also dangerous because it is helping in production of NO2. Now this NO2, why is it so dangerous, nitrogen dioxide? This is catalyzing this reaction. It is helping in formation of ozone, NO2. So when NO2 is catalyzing this reaction, that means ozone is being formed. Now this reaction is good as long as it is in the stratosphere, because this can help in blocking of ozone or UV light. But this reaction is not good if we are talking about where we live, because where we live, we don't need ozone there. Ozone is required only in the stratosphere, away from us. So this ozone is now the component of smoke. So somebody is writing smog. So actually, strictly speaking, smog is primarily ozone inside, which is harmful for us. You know why it is harmful? Because it is already used in disinfectant. So that means not good for for the tissues. living tissues, and it's not good for health. It's actually will create breathing issues, bronchitis and other diseases, asthma, so other diseases. So lung related issues can be easily created because of that, and that is why we are trying to limit this. Okay, so we know the problem now because of NOx. There are two problems. Okay, now let's talk about the problem because of CO2. Yes, CO2 in itself is not so harmful for human beings, but indirectly it is. What is the problem with CO2? Global warming. Yes, that's right. And the average Earth's temperature is rising, and that's not good, really not good. So normally the Earth's average temperature is somewhere around 15 degrees Celsius. So even if it is rising 2 degrees higher than that, so that would be not good. 2-degree rise, many of the countries would be just gone. Those where the average seawater above the seawater level, the earth is not so high, the land is not so at high level, they'll be gone. Many of the countries like Mauritius, Bangladesh, so they'll be directly impacted. Even India, means the coastal areas, they will go submerged. And not only this, quite of environmental changes are still happening, we see, and that's primarily because of this global warming issues. Okay, moving on. And if you want to study, guys, we can study Venus. Venus, planet in the solar system, though it is not nearest to the sun. Mercury is, but still Venus is hotter than Mercury, and the reason being CO2. So CO2 is the reason what makes Venus so hot. So hot that its average temperature is more than 450 degrees Celsius. Okay, so absolutely not habitable. So, and we are heading towards that only if we don't take action in the right time. Okay, now moving on. So problems we have seen, how it is produced we have seen, but we need to just figure out, okay, just for the remedy sake, we need to know where is sulfur coming from. So if we can limit the sulfur source, then of course we can target that. The sulfur is coming from where? In SOx. Source of sulfur. Yes, that's right. Answer is correct. The source is the fuel itself. And from where it is coming, sulfur is coming into the fuel? So sulfur is dangerous in the fuel, but where is it coming from the fuel? Yeah, absolutely right. Basically, it's the part of the crude oil itself. The crude oil contains sulfur because it's coming from earth, and so much so that, see, the crude oil is formed from the decomposition of plants and animals, and we know that if you study your composition, sulfur is present, so that may also go into the crude oil. And the you know that crude oil which is containing high percent of sulfur, that what that is called. So there are two type of crude that is available from earth crust. One is called sweet crude, another is called sour crude. So it's the sour crude that contains major higher amount of sulfur. Example is from South Arabian Light from Saudi Arabia. So these areas primarily sulfur would be more. Nigeria and all the sulfur is still less, but Saudi and red nearby areas the sulfur is too much. Sweet is one which is less sulfur, sour is more sulfur. Okay, so that is a part of crude itself. So we have to remove sulfur from the fuel. Okay, if we want to tackle the problem, we'll see that later. But okay, let's move on to the nitrogen. What is the source of nitrogen in NOx? Which forms NOx? Yes, that's right. Nitrogen is coming from air. So air is primarily nitrogen only. Air, major part of the air is nitrogen. So that means we can't do much about that. Air will contain, if we are using air, we will have to use, we can't do much about it. Nitrogen is there. Okay, let's move further. Source of carbon, third one. Source of carbon is exhaust gases. No? Source of carbon, fuel itself, yes. Fuel itself, fuel is hydrocarbon, isn't it? Okay guys, so the problem is, so when you're burning these thing up, when you're burning the fuel, when you're burning the fuel with the help of air, that means you will have these problems, SOx, NOx, CO2. They will produce. Now let's see if there is any remedy for that. For the remedy's sake, we have to target or we have to limit the production of SOx. So there are two ways in which we can tackle the menace of SOx. First is you can target the fuel. Secondly, if the SOx is formed, you can target the SOx itself. So I hope you have been told about exhaust gas cleaning system, scrubber tower and all. I think you have already studied that. Scrubber. Okay. So that means post-production, you know what to do. Once it has been formed, how to limit SOx into atmosphere using EGCS. Here we will be targeting the fuel. Now fuel, if you see when the crude oil distillation is happening, the distillate itself will not contain so much of sulfur in it. It is the residue where all the sulfur will go away, and residue we are using as marine fuel. So the sulfur will be more in that. So this is natural. If you want percentage of sulfur in that, we have to process the oil. Okay, you have to process the oil in refineries, and this will use some technology. This will use some kind of technical know-how and some kind of catalyst. So some money has to be invested to reduce the amount of sulfur in the fuel, and that will make the fuel costly. So that is why company have not been giving it to us. It's all about money. But because of the latest regulations, they have no choice but to give us the fuel which has got limited amount of sulfur. We will look into that in detail. First, let's move on with nitrogen. Okay, so remedy here is to limit the sulfur in the fuel. So this will be the remedy here. What is the remedy? Limit sulfur in fuel and EGCS, which you have already seen. We're not going into that. We're just sticking to this. Sulfur in the fuel is a remedy for us now. How about NOx? What is the remedy here? So first of all, we need to see how is this formed? How is it formed? It is formed by this reaction, N2 plus O2 and a lot of heat, and that forms NOx. So guys, the primary reason why NOx is formed is O2 percentage. Second is temperature. And third is resident time. The time at for the time during which this remains higher, means the temperature remains higher. So if we can target any of those, we can actually of NOx. So if you can bring down the oxygen percentage, or if you can bring down temperature, or if you can bring down the time during which temperature was higher, any of these will reduce the NOx. And we will see that. How can we do that? We'll see that in detail later. But for the time being, you remember, reduce the O2 percentage or reduce time temperature or reduce resident time, we can actually reduce the amount of NOx being formed in the engine. Otherwise, you can't do much about it. You cannot say, I will reduce nitrogen. I will not have nitrogen in the air. Let me remove that nitrogen from it. That is virtually impossible. So if you are reducing the nitrogen, you are increasing O2 percentage. So if you try to do that, that again will increase the the NOx. If you can eliminate nitrogen altogether, completely, so this makes your air nothing but pure O2. And pure O2 is explosive, guys. So that is out of question now. Taking out nitrogen is out of question. Okay, so what you can do is the three methods written down there. Okay, let's talk about carbon. What is the remedy? CO2. Can you take out carbon from fuel? Can you take out carbon from fuel? You can take out carbon from fuel. If you take out carbon from hydrocarbon, what remains is hydrogen. So you can use hydrogen as a fuel. And we know fuel cells are such technology. You're using fuel cell, no carbon atoms, so no CO2 production. Fuel cell is the technology of the future. It will be there. You can use this as a fuel, NH3 ammonia gas. So byproduct is nothing but safe products here. So there is no carbon atom in ammonia. So ammonia can be used as a fuel. But the technology is not so advanced these days. Presently, in future, they may be. So you might see in future ammonia being used as a fuel. Hydrogen is being used as a fuel. Hydrogen is already there in usage. Many of the buses, trucks, they're using hydrogen fuel cell. Japanese are too much into this. They're actually coming up with this technology. Maybe you'll see in the future. But for the time being, we can exclude that. Not so much for the shipping. Still in the developmental phase. So we have to focus something else. And people have rightly written, burn less fuel is the only option presently. And burn less fuel means what? Should we stop ships or should we make less number of journeys? Should we reduce the RPM or what? The only available means, so you cannot stop ships from sailing. Otherwise, the business will not go on. So business should go on at the same pace. The only available option is to improve efficiency. That's it. So how can we improve upon efficiency is the only available choice for us. So whatever is there in that case will be discussed here. That is EDI and SIM. So EDI is design phase. We need to design better ships running efficiently. So all those design aspects will be the part of EEDI. How are you designing your ship in a better way? That may include the hull shape, that may include propeller redesigning, may include your main engine electronically controlled. That may include your shape of the bulbous bow, shape of the rudder, right? Stator fins, if propeller boss cap fins, air bubbling, sail type of ship you're using a sailboat, air lubrication methods, so many design this thing, which is a better quality of paints. Okay, so these are all design aspects. Maybe your exhaust gases, energy reclamation, for example, EGBs, for example, power take in, power take off. So all these will be the design aspects. Mhm. Designing better machinery, better engines, which will be more energy efficient, better hull design. So that will be part of all design aspects. Now, once the design has been made, we need to look into better management, means a plan wherein we can run the ship efficiently. So this plan is called SEAM. It's Energy Efficiency Management Plan. SEAM is divided into two parts, guys. SEAM part 1 and SEAM part 2. So SEAM part 1 is nothing but your plan for energy efficiency. Means in what way you can run your ship efficiently. All those practices which company follow these days. For example, weather routing. What else is there? You knowing better than me. What are those? Weather routing and maybe changing over to LED bulbs. Trim correction, yes. Hull cleaning, propeller cleaning. These practices. Less of leakages, no steam leakage, no air leakage, proper lagging, air conditioning, air leakages also. Yes. Passage planning, very good. Unnecessary, don't run the ship. Don't run, means take a longer path and all. What machinery you can control means unnecessary running of machine. That can be main cooling seawater pump, including winches, lube oil, main engine lube oil pump, fire pump, ballast pump, bow thruster, your engine room steering gear motor. So anywhere, except if only if they are not for the safety sake, means they're not cranes also. So wherever you can stop a motor which is unnecessarily running, means at least you can limit the usage. You must do. And this is not normal guidelines. These are now mandatory guidelines these days. So don't think it's like, okay, nobody's going to ask and all. No, it does impact in the long run. Does impact in the long run. Even your cabin lights, places which are not being used, the lights on those areas, unnecessary opening of portholes. Okay. So all these will are included now in the plan. Basically, you need to reduce the fuel somehow. Unnecessary pump running, yes. So that again means it's, see, when the safety is of concern, of course you will run everything what is of safety concern. But here the discussion is where you can control, you should. It's all about intentions. If you have intentions to reduce the fuel consumption by stopping the pumps, you will do it. Nobody is forcing us to take risks while doing so, but at least the intention should be there to at least control the consumption. Yes. Okay. And that other things can be your other good practices. And not limiting to these, there can be many other practices which you can yourself devise on board your ship. Okay. So these all becomes part of the same part one, where you're talking about the plan. So the plan is ship specific. It is now, these plans are made by a company which are operating the ship, and then they have to be approved of. So it has to be approved now by the flag basically, and class can be approved on behalf. So this plan must be there. Okay, what is your plan to reduce the consumption? This is the plan. Now there's one more part to it, that is SEAM part 2. SEAM part 2. Now once the plan for the fuel reduction in fuel consumption is there, you should know how can I judge my performance. So your performance is judged basis on the work ship is doing and the fuel she is consuming. So first of all, you need to know how much fuel is consumed, fuel consumption, and distance traveled and cargo carried. All these needs to be calculated, because then only you can say, see, fuel consumption does not mean that, okay, if you are able to carry more cargo, of course the fuel consumption will be more. But that should not be the, means it should not be counted as, okay, you're consuming more fuel. It's always relative. That means now you will see that TEU of the container ships are increasing day by day. Why? Because the cargo, the fuel consumption is not increased that much, but the cargo carried is actually being increased. So the fraction of cargo increase is more than the fuel increase. Okay, so it's all the relative term. So it's basically your fuel consumption divided by distance traveled and your cargo carried. Okay, so if you could increase your cargo carried or you increase your distance traveled, of course, the fraction will go shorter, smaller. So which is your intention is. So either you reduce the fuel consumption or you increase your distances and the cargo carried. Ultimately, it's all about efficiency. Yes. But the problem is, how would you calculate fuel being consumed and the distance and travel of the cargo carried? Because it must be streamlined. Some ships will calculate it on some other basis. You will calculate it some other basis. And also, one chief engineer, it comes and he's calculating his own way of calculation. Chief engineer two will have another way of calculation. One is saying, okay, I will calculate with the flow materials. Another will say, no, no, I'll calculate with the BDN. Third one will say, no, no, I will calculate with the actual soundings. This is a discrepancy. Okay, to alleviate that discrepancy, guys, there must plan. How do you calculate the data? How do you collect the data? So there must be a data collection system or plan, and this is called a DCS. IMO has discussed this or laid out a template how your plan should be of the data collection. So this IMO DCS is what is called as SEAM Part 2, IMO data collection system. And since when are you collecting the data? It started off 1st of January 2019. This is when you started collecting data, guys. First, for the first time. And every year the data is collected and given to office. Office is ultimately sending it to through a channel. And IMO is collecting all those data, and basis these data, IMO is making the plans. See, IMO itself has got a plan to reduce the CO2 consumption, CO2 production. By 2050, they are going to cut down heavily. So these data, what you're collecting on board ship, this will help IMO in revisiting the plans. Means if they'll say, if are the targets being achieved, are we going in the correct way, correct direction? If yes, it's okay. If no, then they will introduce some more stringent regulations. Okay, so they are telling ships, okay, this tell me how do you collect the data? Tell me our plan. So you will have first submit your plan. So it was already submitted by 31st December 2018 by all companies. And basis that now they're just simply recording annual data and giving it to the IMO, and IMO is analyzing that data, that are we actually going into the right direction or not. If yes, if no, soon you will see some other changes. Some more strict regulations will be coming into place. So going by the data that are coming in, we actually are going in the correct direction. I will show you some of the data. But gentlemen, if so far so good, you are understanding what we are heading into. Say yes if you understood whatever we have discussed. Okay. So let's come back to the sulfur, SOx and NOx. What is remaining is how do we limit, and over the years how the regulations have come into being. So let's focus on that. If we talk about SOx, limiting sulfur in the fuel is the key here. And over the years, how have we applied this reduction in sulfur over the years? You can see in the year 2000, these were the limits. ECA, it was 1.5% sulfur, mass over mass, globally 4.5. In 2010, ECA limit came down to 1%, and 2015 it came down to 0.1%. And you're still going with that limits. In ECA areas, the sulfur in the fuel cannot be more than 0.1. Globally, in the year 2012, the value 0.5 to 3.5. And in the last year, 1st of January, it came down to 0.5%. And these you all know. Okay, so what are the different methods you can comply with this regulation, 2020 regulation? Either your ship is using LNG as a fuel, choice number one, or you're using scrubber system, or you are using compliant fuel. Now you will see LNG will be coming quite a lot because LNG is a very good fuel. Scrubber is also an option. Many of the ships are being fitted with scrubber. If you're not going for any of those, then at least the fuel which you are using should be compliant. Means globally 0.5, ECA 0.1. Okay, if you talk guys compliant fuel, there are a few challenges with compliant fuel also. Can any of the chief engineers tell us what are the problem faced with 0.5% sulfur if of these fuels? Anyone face any problem with this fuel? Okay. Yeah, stability is of major concern here. So because it is non-unstable sludge formation and all those things, cracks, crystallization, purification is the challenge people are facing. Maintaining the viscosity is also becoming a challenge. Filter clogging is becoming a challenge, let's say. Yes, that's right. Spot on. Careful guys, those who have not faced the problems, you may face. Because these are usually made with blending two kinds of oil which may not be stable together. Okay. Problem faced with MGO. Anyone face problem with MGO? What are the common problem faced with MGO guys? 0.1% sulfur, distillate. Okay, leakages is one. Because the viscosity is very less, so problem is leakage is very good. Leakages can be in the fuel pumps or high pressure pumps, plunger barrel leakages. So that may cause starting problem also. Yes, right. Especially stun kick and that too in cold conditions. So cold areas and ECA areas starting. Lubricity is a problem because sulfur was a natural lubricant. When you reduce sulfur viscosity, it lubricity goes away, and that again can increase the problem with plunger barrel leakages because of scorings. We are down very fast. Leakages in the filter from the filters and your pump mechanical seal also can be an issue. Viscosity is also a challenge. Over atomization, that can also be a problem. So please maintain viscosity beyond 2 for sure. So you may use MGO cooler or you may use chillers, chiller plants. Yes, we are using refrigerant to cool the oil. But the all in all, and please be sure that all your tracing steam is valves are holding, because the problem is the leaking into the tracing steam pipelines. Okay, so these are the tricks here. Not all we can discuss. Okay, moving on. So challenges we have discussed. Scrubber you already discussed yesterday. LNG. So LNG, good bad things are LNG though is a very good fuel. What are the advantages of LNG? NOx reduction is 85% NOx reduce. SOx 100% reduction. Particulate matter also 100% reduction. Even CO2 reduction is also there. So this is a good fuel in all the respects. SOx, NOx and CO2. So that means it's a win-win situation if you are able to use LNG as a fuel. And these days you will see a lot of Non-tankers also using LNG, maybe because they're bunkering LNG as a fuel, and in the dual fuel engine they're able to burn the LNG. And in future you will see more and more such kind of ships. But the problem with LNG is that they're costly, refits are costly, is not available at all the ports. And leakages, if the LNG is nothing but methane gas primarily, it's a methane gas, and if that leaks away, then it's another hazard. Crude needs a lot of training. Maybe you need to do gas courses, and and storage is also a problem. These are the challenges. Otherwise, LNG as a fuel is very good. Okay. So guys, when we actually came down from 3.5% to 0.5% sulfur, we needed a plan for that. And this plan is called SSEP, Ship Specific Implementation Plan. Though you have already changed over, but just to let you know what were the part of the plans, any modifications, what if you are doing pipeline modification, bunker tank modification, sampling arrangements, procurement of compliant fuel, all these were part of the plan. So now we have smoothly changed over to 0.5. So you may not be handling too much into this plan. However, there is one important aspect that you may be dealing with, and that is called FONAR. Anybody aware what is that? That is right, and gentlemen. Because if you want to comply with sulfur, you need compliant fuel. 0.1 for ICA, 0.5 for global. However, there might be a case when you are not able to get this fuel. It can be a scenario areas, and you are expecting a bunker 0.1 sulfur, you could not get it because of the problem. Bunker barge is not available, whatever, weather not good or whatever can be the reason. Or let's say you've got scrubber is faulty and you wanted to bunker 0.5 and you did not get 0.5, or you did not get 0.5 or otherwise also. So guys, if you're not able to get compliant fuel, then there still you can go into the port, but we have to go after taking proper approval. So there's a procedure given how you can still comply if you do not get compliant fuel. Okay, so let me tell you the requirements. So this is a requirement, USCG requirement regarding this. Okay, so guys, the USCG says if you are not able to comply, if you are not able to receive this such kind of fuel, first step is notify flag. Second is notify the port authorities of destination. Where are you going? Third is submit FONAR. And fourth is record all the actions taken. Okay. So one more time we will see that. Okay. So step by step, let's see this. First, of course you're informing your office. Discuss with them. Second, flag needs to be told could not get the oil. Third is inform the port regarding the same. Okay, I'm one intend to come but don't have the compliant fuel. they'll say, okay, you can come, but submit phonar first. So phonar is where it is like a proof that you tried your best, but still you could not get the compliant fuel. So how does it test that whether you did your best? Because there are a list of questionnaire. What was the date of last bunker, or when did you come? What is the commencement of journey? Which company you requested? Whatever. So they just want to confirm whether you tried your best. That is, the mistake is not yours, and your intentions were pure. It's just sheer bad luck that you could not get the oil. So this is what Phonar is all about. So let me just show you one of the template of Phonar. How does it look like? This is a template from the Phonar. It's from IMO, and your ship specific Phonar. So your Phonar will be something like that only. This report is to be provided is to provide documentation if the ship is unable to obtain compliant fuel. Ship shall present a record of the action taken to attempt to achieve the compliance and provide evidence that it attempted to purchase compliant fuel and that it was not made available where planned, and that attempts were made to locate the alternative source of such fuels, and that despite best efforts to obtain compliant fuel, no such fuel oil was made available for purchase. It means you did your best, it still could not get the oil. However, they also say that as per the regulation this 18.2.2 of MARPOL Annex 6, the ship is not required to deviate from the intended voyage or unduly delay the ship just to attain the fuel. So that's the leeway. That means you are not required to deviate the ship or delay unnecessarily just to get the oil. It's not your mistake. Okay. Ship shall notify the flag administration and the competent authority of the port when it cannot purchase the compliant fuel. A copy of all supporting documents shall be kept on board for at least 12 months. Remember this. So this copy and anything relevant, please keep it at least for 12 months. In future, they can be checked. Okay, moving on. So these are some things that are required from your side. Name of the ship, flag, this, that, port of registry. Okay, so much of information. Submit it and your job is done. So that was all about for now, guys. Okay, so now let's move on to NOx. So over the year, how the NOx has changed. This is the table for that. Over the years, so it depends on the date of construction of your ship. So if your ship was constructed within this range, 2000 2011, within this 11-year period if your ship was constructed, you must comply with tier 1. After 1st Jan 2011, you must comply tier 2. And if you intend to go in the ICA areas and your ship is constructed after 1st Jan 2016, this is for North American ICA. For Baltic Sea and North Sea, this is recently, this year only, 1st of January, it has come into force. 1st January 2021, if your ship intends to go to North Sea and Baltic Sea, and your ship is constructed after this date, 1st Jan 2021, you must confirm with Tier 3. Tier 3 are the most strict of all regulations, 3.4 gram per kilowatt hour only. And usually just by design change, you can't do that of the engine. You have to go for some post treatments. For example, you may be having a so these kind of things you may need to require. Selective catalytic reduction methods. We'll see what that is, guys. So moving on. Now these are the ECA areas, NOx related ECA areas, or to be more precise, NECA areas. So your North Atlantic areas or North American areas, and 1st Jan 2021, your North Sea area and in your Baltic Sea area. So these are also included, but not for all ships, only ships which are basically built after these certain dates. Okay. So regarding, discuss few more things. Various ways you can reduce your NOx. SOx we have already discussed. How can you reduce your SOx? You can reduce sulfur in the fuel or compliant fuel or LNG or scrubber, EGCS. These were the remedies for SOx. Let's talk about remedies for NOx. You can reduce temperature as discussed. Now reduction on temperature can be based on many methods. You have to make your combustion more efficient. Temperature should be reduced. So this we can achieve by using electronically controlled engines, which we call ME engines. That is method number one. You can use your zero sack volume slide type fuel valves. Timing can be controlled, and so many other methods are there. That will be too much technical to discuss here, but you must remember that your engine performance must be good, and it must be on as laid out in your NOx technical file. So next, the technical file basically is including all those components which might impact NOx production. So what is happening is that a prototype is tested in the shop trials, and it is tested for how much amount of NOx it is producing. And if that is complying with your regulation, it will be given type approval. So this type approval, upon this, a certificate will be issued for such engines. And the certificate is called, anyone? What certificate is issued to the ship for that particular engine? EIAPP, Engine International Air Pollution Prevention Certificate. And this certificate is for the lifetime of the ship, till that engine is there. It is not expiring. Expiration is not 5 years. It's for the lifetime. Okay. If you're complying with the air pollution, like Annex 6, that is International Air Pollution Prevention Certificate. That is different. This is different, guys. And technical file is to be maintained. There's something which requirements if you want to keep this certificate alive. Technical file should be maintained for all the engines, and it must be updated. Any parameter change must be recorded. Any parameter change which can impact NOx formation, any component change, any parameter change, that should be going in that. And you cannot change any part just like that. Okay, and it has to be with proper IMO ID, any part which if you're changing it, and must go in the records in the file. So this is what is required from our side. Okay, so that's about your NOx. Now let's see how can we reduce NOx further. Is there any other means for reducing the NOx? Yes, there are. So pre-treatment we have seen that temperature can be reduced even with water injection. And water can be injected along with fuel of the fuel. So there can be water injecting nozzles, or you can mix slurry, or you can make a mixture of oil and water. Ultimately, you have to reduce the temperature. That's the motive. Or you can inject water in the scavenger. Humid air, this thing. Scavenger, yes. So these are all pre-treatments before even it is formed. Okay, there are few more which are more relevant. That will be SCR. It's a kind of post-treatment method. Once the NOx is formed, how can you reduce it? And yes, EGR, exhaust gas recirculation. So let's discuss them in details, guys. EGR and SCR. What does EGR do? EGR principle of working is O2 percentage reduction. SCR is altogether different. See, in combustion chamber, what is happening? You are taking fuel. Fuel is nothing but hydrocarbon plus O2, and that's make CO2 and H2O. And since nitrogen is also present along with air, so that can also combine with oxygen, and that is producing NOx. So if you can reduce the oxygen percentage, the NOx production will be less. How can reduce oxygen percentage? We know of one technology which can reduce oxygen percentage, and that is IG. IG mixed with air can reduce the O2 percentage. And this is exactly what we are doing it. We are mixing IG into air. And from where are we getting this IG? We are getting this IG from exhaust gases. So this is the same exhaust gas recirculation. What are we doing? This is our engine. So we have got scavenge manifold. Exhaust gas is when it is going, a part of exhaust gas is taken out and it is already hot. So what we're going to do, like IG, what we're going to do, scrubber, which will cool the exhaust gases and clean exhaust gases. So scrubber, and then we need a IG blower. So same thing we are doing here, and this is now introducing IG into scavenge manifold. So this is how we are reducing the percentage of oxygen in the air. Scrubber, for a scrubber we need seawater to clean the exhaust gases and cool it down. Okay guys, and now it depends that the bleeding off point. If the bleeding off point of the exhaust gas is before turbocharger, we know before turbocharger pressure and temperature both are more. So this is called high pressure HPEGR, high pressure EGR. If the bleeding point or uptake point is after turbocharger, it will be called LPEGR, low pressure EGR. Is this part understood, guys? Say yes if this understood to all, what we just discussed. Okay, same goes with your SCR. Let's talk about SCR, what is happening in the SCR. So what we do, let's say same again, it's the main engine, and let's say it's the exhaust manifold. So what are we doing? If we're bleeding off exhaust gases, or basically not bleeding off, we are putting another machinery in the passageway of exhaust gases. And what this is doing, this is called SCR, selective catalytic reduction. There's a reactor inside it, and there's a honeycomb structure, and we are using some catalyst. Exactly what we are doing, we are putting ammonia gas in this NH3. Ammonia gas reacts with NOx to reduce the NOx into nitrogen plus water, which is very safe. So ammonia gas mixes with NOx and produce the NOx and convert the NOx into nitrogen and water, which is safer for us. But the challenge is, where do we get this ammonia gas from? Ammonia as a gas is not so good to be, and it's also costly to handle that directly. So we are producing ammonia gas by this technology. We are using urea and we are mixing urea with water, and at high temperature we are producing ammonia gas. So specifically seeing this what is urea? So urea is nothing but this NH2CONH2. So this is your urea, and you mix this urea with water and you produce NH3 gas plus carbon dioxide. This is what we are doing it, and this ammonia. So this everything is happening internally. We are not even seeing what is happening. We just putting urea solution, injecting urea solution in the reactor, and job is done. But the penalty is urea is not so cheap. The amount of urea that is consumed is not so cheap. So you might end up saying, let's say if you're investing $100 for fuel, $8 will be for urea production. For urea, that means around 8% of the fuel cost will be your urea cost. So owners now will have to invest more money, or charters, whatever. So this is how we can do it. This is the available technology. And same way, guys, like EGR, if this reactor is before turbocharger, it will be called as HP SCR. If it is after turbocharger, pressure is low, LP SCR. So these are two technologies available. And mind you, after turbocharger, temperature is also less. But for this system to work, this needs at least 350 degrees Celsius temperature. So you may have to use preheater if you are using LPSCR. Preheater, just to increase the temperature. But overall, you know that EGB, exhaust gas boiler, when you are already cooling it down on the system, so overall your energy that was used in EGB will also be lesser. So efficiency is going to go down surely, your plant efficiency, because uh, first of all, you are actually disturbing the exhaust cycle by putting SCR. There might be some kind of back pressure, and also the heat energy is also somewhat reduced. However, claim that these manufacturer of the system claim that no, it's not too much, but it is. Practically speaking, there is some efficiency drop, even with EGR. Okay, that's all with NOx and SOx, guys. Let us discuss something about your SEAM part 2. And that will be done with this today's session. SEAM part 2. We'll discuss something more. Okay, do you know, is there any other party which is requesting the data from us apart from IMO, which is requesting through DCS? Is there any other agency in the world which is requesting the data of the fuel consumption from us? Very good. This is EU MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification. So EU MRV is also asking, European Union is asking the data from us. And thirdly is China DCS. China is also asking the data. What do they do with these data? They have their own agencies. They are actually want to know. Maybe they don't trust IMO as such. They want to calculate for themselves how much is the CO2 production. Okay, so China, EU MRV is for European region areas. They're not asking from ships, they're asking from their industries also. Okay, so shipping is one part of that. They're asking from their industries and all how much CO2 is being produced and all, and they just want to take some actions based on that. So when your ship is sailing in European waters, you are collecting that data. However, yearly they will ask you the data. China is also is not focusing on the world. Is only focusing on when the ship is in their waters, and they need the data the moment the ship is sailing out. They want how much fuel you consumed in our waters. Just give us the data. IMO is for global. IMO is your ship may be anywhere in the world. You just keep collecting the data. That's the basic difference between the three. Okay, let us differentiate between the three. Give me a moment here. So guys, let us directly compare between the three. I hope this page is visible to all. You can take a snapshot. So IMODCS is the middle one. Then comes EU. And first one is for China. Now, first of all, we'll see applicability. So IMO DCS is applicable to the ships which are 5,000 GT and above. Same goes with your EU MRV, 5,000 GT and above. But and the China is actually applicable to even more kind of ships, that is 400 GT and above, or your engine is more than 750 kilowatt. The basic difference between the three is IMO is applicable for ships engaged in international voyages. However, EUMRV is only applicable to your ship only if, or at least that journey wherein you are going towards the EU or away from EU and within the EU. So ships to, from and between EU ports. To, from and EU, between EU ports. For China, it is to and from the Chinese ports. And they're not focusing on rest of the world. Same goes with the EUMRV. They're focusing in their waters. And actually the date of starting of monitoring is for 1st of Jan 2019 is for both IMO and China. EUMRV came a year ago, year before these two, 1st January 2018. This is when monitoring actually started. In IMO, you have to report all the voyages. China for Chinese ports, EU for European ports. And what all data they need? For China, you need fuel consumption, transport work, hour underway, distance traveled, operational hours, and so. And similar is also requested from IMO. Fuel consumption, transport work, hour underway, distance traveled. Similar is your EU requirements. Okay, reporting period. IMO is once a year, means you just keep collecting the data. After 1 year is complete, they will ask you for the data. Same is with your EU MRV. You keep collecting the data for European ports, for European voyages, but they will ask only after 1 year. Means basically they will collect yearly data. Though you are actually maybe sending it on a daily basis, like you are doing your noon reports and all. So basically they're collecting the data from that only. But 1 year of data. This is not the case with China, guys. The moment you're going to sail out from China, you are sending this report. So master is either giving this data to the agent, or there is a portal there on China MSA website. So you're uploading the data before sailing out. And that's it. After that, you don't need to report for China. So you don't need to record for China. Forget about it. IMO, however, this data is going after 1 year. Okay, reporting time. Exactly what time you are reporting. So when you are leaving Chinese ports, then for IMO, you are reporting no later than 31st of May. So let's say, for example, last year data, 2020 data. So all your 2020 data will be clubbed together and would have been sent. So but actually it is sent in January only. In January, you're giving it to the office. Office is giving it to the classification society. For Anglo, American Bureau of Shipping is doing that job, ABS. And it is collecting the data for all 620 ships for Anglo, compiling the data, checking for any problem, and finally submitting it to the, on the behalf of flag, it's submitting it to the IMO, and it is going to the IMO database. And flag will be issuing a certificate if the data is sent is all correct to the ships. And what is that certificate? SOC. SOC will be issued to the ship. Validity is 1 year. Statement of compliance. SOC. And EUMRB is also issuing a certificate if you're complying, and that will be called DOC, document of compliance, if all the data is correct. Validity of both the certificate is 1 year. Every year it will expire and you just need to collect data and again get the new certificate. And who all are? For IMO, the verification will be done, as I told you, will be done either by class or flag. Usually it is done by class. For IMO, for UMRB, it is a separate verifier. Usually there are class people only, they will be verifying the data. And the reporting is done to whom? Actually, the reporting officially is done through flag state. Usually we are doing it through class, but reported to flag is going to submit it to the IMO. Or directly can also be done, but officially we said that flag is the intermediary. For European region, it's a European Commission, and for China, it's a China MSA, official agencies. And paperwork regarding IMO is your C part 2, and this will tell you how to do it. For you, it's monitoring plan. And for China, basically some kind of documents, you just go through that. There's some PDF files and all. That is like document preparations. Okay, so this is how you're gonna collect the data. Okay, and send it across. Certificate, I already told you. SOC is for IMO DCS and DOC is for UMRV. Does anybody know what are you doing with in case of EU or in case of IMO DCS? What exactly you are sending it to the IMO? What are you sending to the office at the end of the year? Anyone in the batch? Do you know any? Of course, you must be doing it. Chief engineers, second officers, you are already involved with documentation. You have done it for 1st Jan 19 till 31st December 19. You have done it for that time duration, and same goes with 1st Jan 20, 31st 2020. These two periods already been over. That means you have done it twice. Any document you know of? Any tech form that you're doing it so? VIS is for the daily noon reporting. So it is not for IMO DCS. It is Tech 49 form. Tech 49. Have you heard of this tech form, guys? Tech 49 form. Ever seen it? I'll show you if you have not seen it. In my view, chief engineer must have seen it, must have filled it. Otherwise, it will be very strange. Maybe you have never, but maybe then you have not sailed in those times, January, February, where when you are required to send it across to the office. Anyway, I'll show you how does it look like. Guys, this is Tech 49 form. So you're just sending your consumption, main engine hours, and your distance traveled in this. Now this is for around the year, of course. So you can see January data is all January data here. This February, March, April, and December till December 31st. You can see here. So this round the year data, wherever your ship is, doesn't matter. You have to keep collecting the data. Data should not be missed. They want to know in 1 year how much is your fuel consumption. They want to know what kind of fuel you used and throughout the year what kind of fuel consumption is there. Starting from midnight 1st of Jan till of 2400 hours 31st December. Not even 1 hour should be missed. Not even 1 minute. No period should be duplicated. No period should be missed. That's the idea. So approximately how many hours would that be? 365 days, 24 hours. None of the hours should be missed. So this is the idea. But the problem is people are usually in your engine room logbook, you're writing noon to noon, 12 to 12. Here also you can do 12 to 12 except 1st of January and 31st of December. These are two exceptions date because these are the dates you will be sending from midnight to 12 noon. So you're reporting for 12 hours on 1st of Jan and also 12 hours on 31st of December. Otherwise, all other days you can report noon to noon. Understood this, guys? Understood this one? Say yes if you understood what I just said. Okay. So these exceptional dates are already pre-written for you. So please do not try to overwrite here. These dates are already mentioned for you. So the first day, 1st January, noon, it's not noon to noon, it's midnight to noon. Same goes with your December 31st. It is noon to, it's not noon to noon. It's noon to midnight. Rest all other days are noon to noon. So it's all noon to noon. So you can see that here 00 to 1200. February is not 00, it's 12 to 12. March is 12 to 12. December, it's 12 to midnight. So some chief engineer, what they did, they tried to be smart. They just changed what is written already there. Now this is written for some purpose. Now it is locked. You can't change. They even went a step ahead. They just either cracked the code themselves or password, or they took help of some junior engineer officer or deck officer who knew computers, and they hacked it and they just changed it. For what reason, I don't understand. It is given for some reason. Okay, anyway, moving on. Instruction is given in the beginning how to fill those up. Those instruction is not complete. Still there is a confusion. Guys. Okay, first of all you need to fill this page up. Your ship's info. Ship info is ship name, IMO ID, flag, ship type, power, auxiliary engines, power, GT, NT. So just keep writing that way. Okay, ice class or what? Okay, fuel consumption method. Yeah, are you using BDN or flow meter? Okay, let's say flow meter. So this is how you need to fill this data and then move ahead. And this will remain same for you. It's not going to change the data. Okay, moving on. BDN data. BDN data is when you're taking any bunker, just fill this data and please don't make mistake. 80% of the people have done one kind of mistake and I'll let you know what. Okay. BDN data, BDN ID, whatever I done, delivery date, fuel type. Guys, in the fuel type, some kind of fuels are mentioned. Just see to it. And what is this month now? May. I think our data is already sent before you join the ship. If it is not, you'll be required to fill this up. Even then, please don't make mistakes because last year we faced a lot of problem, so many mistakes from ship staff, and ABS was angry, like so many mistakes because they were sorting out data. They were sending it to us. Please figure out what's the mistake to the ships. And ship staff chief engineer was cribbing. Why is it sent to us when the mistake was done 10 months ago? How do I know what kind of mistake? Like what happened that day? So the real solution is when you are filling it up, please fill it diligently. Don't make many mistakes. Okay. Guys, HFO, LFO, DO, this thing. Can anybody tell me what is this LFO? Any guesswork? Any idea what this LFO is? Others can also participate. Okay. All right, guys. Let me tell you, 80% of the people, those who did mistake, this was the mistake they did. They were thinking this to be a low sulfur oil, which it is not. It's nothing to do with sulfur percentage. It's nothing to do with density. It is everything to do with viscosity. Okay, so it is low viscosity oil. And what is the value, limiting value? 80 CST. 80 CST and above are called HFO, and 80 CST and below are called LFOs. So please remember, it is just CST and nothing to do with density or sulfur percentage. So this was the major mistake that people did. And all of means they just keep writing LFO means LFO, 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 and they are all wrong. It has to be corrected later on. Please remember, don't forget. 80 CST above is HFO, below 80 CST is LFO. This was mistake number one. Hope you don't do that mistake. Moving on. If you have any short bunker or whatever because of density difference and maybe bunker baths gave you less fuel oil, make a mention here, do the correction if required, make an entry in the engine room logbook because that will hold true. Later on, that picture will be required. Logbook entry, short bunker supply, and letter of protest will also should be issued though more official is your logbook entry, if at all you received less than the BDN figure. Okay, any correction, just do it here. Secondly, second mistake was people made it known to known. That was second mistake. Third mistake, what people did is this. Okay, normally, okay, come back. Yes. So here you can see your distance traveled, hours underway, and the kind of fuel oil you were using. Now, let's say a case when the ship was drifting at 12 o'clock noon. Standby engines was given. Weather is rough, and ship was in standby condition. Intermittent movements were given. Otherwise, she was drifting, and in between movement were given. And next day, 12 noon, finish with engine. Weather went okay. Finish with engine was given. So guys, distance traveled, let's say 10 nautical miles. Okay, tell me what will you ride in hour underway here? Hour underway, how many hours? What do you think? What should be written here? Okay, in your engine room logbook, you may be writing anything. In your engine room logbook, you may be writing anything. Guys, please remember, hours underway here is exactly the number of hours main engine has run. So if the main engine in the 24-hour cycle, it has run only 1 hour, it was other rest, it was drifting, just keep giving kicks and all. So if it is just 1 hour in your hour meter, write 1 hour here. Because it makes sense, 1 hour 10 knots. It makes sense. Do not write 24 hours here. Doesn't make sense. 24 hours you are underway and you just traveled 10 nautical miles. That's absurd. And fuel consumption, 5 tons. No, that doesn't make sense. If you ran 24 hours, consumption cannot be just 5 tons. Okay. Okay, hour underway, 0. Distance traveled, 0. Let's say fuel consumption, 12 tons. Generators, consumption, 2 tons. What happened? How come your 12 tons when main engine running hours is 0 only, or maybe let's say only small few running hours? Where is the discrepancy? How much fuel consumption be more? Is there any plausible reason why it can be more? Who knows? Only chief engineer knows. Like people, that time they know, but after 1 year, you might not know what happened 10 months back. It may be cargo heating going on. Who knows? Boiler continuously firing. It's cold area. Can be, isn't it? But just to make sense here, please is write in the remark column, cargo heating or drifting, whatever, please write here. Tomorrow, class to which we are sending the data, they can read the remark and just not come back in the mail. Please write the reason why there's a discrepancy. So the request from your side is do write remarks. Okay. So that's all here. Finally, annual data. You don't need to fill anything here. Once all the data are filled, you just have to click on this button here. Automatically fill. The moment you click this button, these data will automatically fill up. All this. You just have to confirm that you are not deviating much, and rest is fine. Data should not be corrupt, data should be all okay. And this sheet you're filling every month, guys, filling it on the daily basis. Company might ask you on monthly basis in the month end. Classification society, if you pay more money, they will check you for on the monthly basis. However, they will be sending this to flag state or IMO only after 1 year. But if you give them, means if you hire them for intermediate checking also, they can check the fidelity of the data in between also. Okay, so that's all in this Act 49. Guys, I hope everything is clear till now. So guys, if all clear and there's no doubt, please say yes and no doubt. And we are done with the session. Okay, and you can switch on the videos.